Hello and thank you for joining us on the Thursday edition of Journalist Hangout. I'm Ayodele Uzubakun. Today on the program, President Buhari directs security agents to shoot anyone seen with AK-47. Alleges gold for arms deal in Zamfara State as armed bandits ambush and kidnap students in Katsina State after school hours. Senate accuses NNPC of payment of 443 billion naira as subsidy without appropriation. And later on the show, President Buhari and Vice President Shivajo to receive COVID-19 vaccines on Saturday as federal government commissioners meet over sharing of 3.9 million vaccine doses. I'll be hanging out with Asukwo James and Sam Ibimere. So if you are ready, let the hangout start now. Just before we begin, let's pay tribute to one of Nigeria's finest actors and broadcasters, Sadiq Daba, who died on Wednesday night. Daba was reported to have lost his fight with cancer after his health worsened. Kokro Adon. Yeah. If you were born in the
within that era,
that Bongo sequence soundtrack. That means you are over 40. Anybody that this was in the 80s.
That's a factor. When the news of
it was NTA was the only station running the broadcast sector has not been deregulated as at that time. Yeah. So we wait till 4 p.m. before they start transmission. Absolutely. And they start with Sesame Street, and after Sesame Street we might have Tales by Moonlight. After Tales by Moonlight we will now have
that speaks a little to how old you are.
So I think around 8 or 9 o'clock or 7 to 8 o'clock prime time. True. Everybody will be at home. True. We now watch Sadiq Daba Kokradon.
Very sad news. For those who have followed the entertainment industry, we know that Sadiq Daba has been ill, for a while, and been treated severally for leukemia and all that. At some point, he had to be helped abroad, for treatment. Came back, but sadly, he couldn't survive it. Tribute to him. We would like to wish the family, that he has left behind, our condolences, and to the entertainment industry. It's a big loss, no doubt about it. A veteran by any standard, one of the very few you can really point to, as a thoroughbred, professional. It's sad that he had to live, at this time. Of course, that's the way of every mortal. Life is a stage, like they always say. We all come, play our part, and then we leave. My condolences to the family and to the country. It's a huge loss for us.
Okay, I think as a Muslim, he was buried in, according to Muslim writing, right, somewhere around Agege Cemetery this afternoon. Yeah. And I pray that the Almighty God will grant the family of Sadiq Baba the fortitude to bear this irreparable loss. I think as we continue to grapple with effects of incessant abduction of students in boarding school in the Northwest, the situation took another disturbing twist. Armed bandits ambushed and kidnapped several students of Government Day Secondary School in Runkan community in Safana in Katsina State on Tuesday after school hours. Meanwhile, President Muhammadu Buhari has given a marching order to military to shoot any civilian carrying AK-47 rifles. This is becoming a national embarrassment. This issue of the armed bandits, now it is one day, one trouble now. If the Kangara boys are not, we can go on and on. So this is so costly. What is happening is like something that can actually put down this country, bring down this country in no time, because the level of insecurity. I saw a security report from the United States office yesterday, and a kind of chart was drawn, like no-go areas. That's like a travel advisory of citizens of the United States of America. It was mostly red, and you can hardly point parts in which people could go, and they are safe in Nigeria now.
The fact of the matter is that that chart that you saw, and which most Nigerians have seen, clearly indicates how terrible the situation is. It's really very bad. You talked about one day, one trouble. I don't think you got it right. It's one day, a dozen troubles, in our society, almost across every part of this country.
From Niger to Kaduna,
everywhere,
to Katsina,
everywhere,
to Zamfara, to Sokoto.
It's not just a national embarrassment. Different times, on this forum, we've talked about how insecure our country has become. There's no better way to describe it, Ayo. It's a national embarrassment, it's a shame, and it wouldn't be the first time that Mr. President is asking security agencies, to go after these bandits. So for me, it's basically a repetition of what we had always known. There are critics who have said, it would be necessary to provide some clarifications in terms of the scope of the order that has been given by Mr. President. Well, we can put it in context. When the presidential media, Buhari's media aide spoke, he was basically talking about Zamfara.
Let me just pause it there, yeah. Sam. I'm bringing Asoko James. Well, I like to look at the no-fly zone declared by Mr. President. Yeah. The essence of that no-fly zone, from intelligence reports, which they gathered, maybe they are saying that some illegal activities on air and everything. But the governors and some other stakeholders, they're saying that, look, this no-fly zone is inconsequential to this war. That the main objective is to deal with these guys, to get these guys to bring peace into Zamfara State, and not the airspace.
I think if the governor or anybody is saying that that order for no-flight zone is inconsequential, then the person is an enemy of the state, because Zamfara has been in the news for the wrong reasons, and one of the major wrong reasons is because of the illegal mining there, and that is why banditry has been on the rise in Zamfara for a very long time.
Do you have evidence of illegal airspace activities, people coming to drop ammunition?
That is what they said. That is what the presidency said. That's the government statement. And don't forget, the national security advisor was for the first time I saw him being very, very angry to say that there were some individuals who were actually sponsoring this. So for the presidency to say that jets were actually coming and dropping arms and taking the gold to Dubai, they even mentioned where it was going, that is intelligence report. So there's no how the government, the government to say they don't know.
The situation, the security situation there.
Ayo, that is how the likes of Sierra Leone, the Democratic Republic of Congo started. When once you see where there is mine, where there is gold, you will find out that there will be more activities in that, and not just illegal activity, as well as armed bandits trying to make sure that they have the right to do everything they want to do and sell at their own price. We were even thinking that now that the CBN was saying that they will be buying gold from Zamfara, it's even going to bring down banditry in that area. But it has even, I don't know if it has even made it worse. It has made it worse.
Okay.
Because it's like they have more money there, and people are now trying to look for lands in Zamfara because they know that that place is a gold mine, and they are trying to look for ways they can also turn themselves into kings in different areas in Zamfara, to turn themselves to bandits.
Sam, the attention seems to be shifted to Zamfara, but I will tell you that Zamfara is not the hottest place, because when you hear about Niger State now, Niger, every day we have cases of kidnapping and everything. And when you, like in Kaduna State, Kaduna is like the headquarters. What's the name of this local government? Kajuru local government.
It's virtually every
It's like ungovernable. So the attention in Zamfara alone might not be enough. We are talking about a whole region being under siege by these bandits.
Yes, if you listen to government spokesperson, the case of Zamfara is not being treated as an isolated case. What makes it peculiar is because of the clear instruction given that that territory should, at the moment, be a no-fly zone. It's not like, you know, banditry and other acts of criminality are not going on, you know, in places like Nasarawa, in Niger, in Kaduna, in Katsina. I mean, we just learned about bandits kidnapping students, not students in boarding houses. So what makes Zamfara a bit unique is that there is an industry, a thriving illegal industry going on, and it's almost like an all-comers affair, which is a clear indication of the failure
has been going on for years.
For years, a failure of governance. Remember when Governor Matawali, you know, talked about what he had done or what his government was doing in terms of trying to manage the free-for-all access to the gold mines or the gold deposits in Zamfara. It raised a lot of concerns. I mean, because who should ordinarily control this mineral, you know, that is deposited in Zamfara? Why would the case of Zamfara be different? Why would it not be treated as the case of Niger Delta? In the Niger Delta area? So there is something that is very unclear about what is going on in Zamfara, and there is need to pay particular attention there. Government has to be sincere about how he wants to handle the Zamfara case.
There's this perception down south here that the federal government has not been decisive enough talking about these bandits, that the alacrity in which the military guys landed in Imo State to deal with the IPOB guys, because we were told that the security network, they started carrying arms, so just to de-escalate the tension there. But we've not seen the activities of Air Force, we've not seen Nigerian military moving into this region where we have these bandits, because the federal government say no dialogue. So after no dialogue, instead of them to continue their activities on a daily basis, we must see action.
You know, that is part of the hypocrisy that people are talking about down south, because it's like another government. Even I listen to Governor, what's his name? Tom. His interview on BBC. I just listened to that interview. He's saying, what's the double standard about? You know, because it's like another government is running the north and another government is running the south. And that is where the government, that is why if you go on social media, you go everywhere, there's this attitude and this feeling about, you know what, we are not united. And that is where the government is supposed to come and see how they can bring that confidence into Nigerians and say, we are one united.
Because these guys, every day, on a daily basis, they keep kidnapping, they keep holding the state to ransom.
Ayo, I've said it before. Because
okay, look at the sophisticated guns. Because look at the ammunition.
We have not prosecuted or arrested these guys.
That's an RPG.
They have found it as a business for them. Because if, for instance, you arrest one, you arrest two in all their camps, they would have been that this kidnapping would have stopped. But because the government is not being decisive about it. Now that they are saying is AK-47, but what you are saying here is this AK-47.
This is RPG.
Is this RPG?
This one will finish anything before on site.
Like Sam is saying, we need to identify, is it AK-47 and others? And then we need to also break down that others.
And we even have general purpose machine guns. Look at these machine guns now.
Look at it. It's like they are fighting war with the Nigerian nation. And that is the fear of those in the south. Because, for instance, if the Air Force is going around the southeast and they are not going around in the north, with all this that we are seeing, and we have not even seen, we are just hearing that the people, the Eastern Security Network, they are holding guns. We have seen only pictures, but this one, they are even showing us videos, and even with Braga, the show. Look at, they are even showing us everything.
You know, I think there is, and I want to acknowledge that I'm before national television, and I want to just put it the way it is. There's a ground cover-up, and I'm mindful of every word I've chosen. You talked about what has been going on in the area of intelligence. When I say ground cover-up, I mean we thought that we had issues identifying where these bandits were. Now we know that even commoners know where they are. I mean, we all have followed what Gumi had done, not just in not just in Katsina, in Niger State and elsewhere. The ease with which he strolls into the camps tells you that these people are not too far from where we are. The government knows where these bandits are. It's very clear. Now you're talking about sincerity. The hypocrisy of it all is that the government doesn't seem to have the will to want to go out and deal with this matter. You call it decisiveness. The fact of the matter is that if clear intelligence has revealed that these people can be reached in hours, in hours, not like it's taking us 2-3 days. Nowadays, we just stroll in there, meet with them, have a chat, and return home. And we're saying that we can't take out these people.
No, people like this, we are even talking about, they don't have air power. We have air power.
Yes, exactly.
Once we can locate and identify where they are.
Okay, look at the gains that they are making in the Northeast. It's because of the air power. Because by the time they finish, the Air Force is going on their reconnaissance operation
flights.
Then the next thing is for the ground troops.
The infantry soldiers will mop up.
So it is easy to deal with these guys. It is easy to deal with them.
That's where the willpower comes in.
You know,
now
you're working.
Some guys actually indoctrinated our people. Those guys are foreigners, and these are Fulanis from outside. They are not Nigerian Fulanis. So most of them, they've been coming in, going out over time. But right now, it's as if those ones that they've been trained in Libya, in Mali and everything, and they've been able to get this kind of synergy with local criminals, and we've brought in all the mercenaries, and Nigeria is now like their headquarters, and we have hundreds and hundreds of them all over the place.
Sorry.
Thankfully, this evening I heard that there's something that the ministry, the presidency has said that the Interior Ministry should see how they can stop this. But we have porous borders. That is one. And with porous borders, anybody can come from Libya, he will come, he will indoctrinate. We have friends. So when people are saying that we should not use ethnic, we should not call it ethnic naming, you know, and say, this person is Fulani, the Fulani people that are causing. We don't want that, because we have friends who are Fulanis. We have friends who are Hausas.
That we should not profile
them. We don't want to profile anybody. But I want to believe that everybody who is from Zamfara, who is a Fulani, knows the person who is a Fulani from Niger. They can differentiate. We have friends who are Fulanis.
It's just like the Ijaw nation now.
Exactly. When once you see your brother who claims to be Ijaw, if he starts speaking, you see his facial structure, you will know.
Okay, we have Edward. Edward is calling us from the United Kingdom. Thank you for joining us, Edward.
Hello, how are you? Good evening.
Good evening, Edward. How are you?
Yeah, fine, thank you. I just want to contribute to this discussion right now.
Please, just...
Yes. You see, it is unfortunate that the president of the nation has paid deaf care to what is going on in Nigeria today, and that country is turning a different in a war zone. I think whatever you guys are discussing on the studio there every now and then doesn't get to him. If he's part of that nation, he would know that that country is turning a war zone. Now, he has said AK-47, if anybody's found with AK-47 should be shot aside. I mean, all these videos, all these things that are flying on the social media, does this mean that Mr. President does not see them?
Okay, thank you, Edward. Edward is talking about the disconnect.
Yes,
that for Mr. President should even come to talk about AK-47, not knowing that these guys, they've even gone further.
They've gone beyond that.
You know, they've gone. They are not even talking about AK-47 again. You can say RPG already. You know, but you know, at this period, I think Nigerians are also tired of always getting to wait for the spokesman or the spokesperson of Mr. President to always release messages.
So additional will tell you that is his own style.
Everybody has a style, but we are almost 200 million Nigerians, and everybody has a style. Me, I might not be good. I might not be happy with their own style. They are serving
This
us.
is
We are
democracy.
not. No, listen. They are the ones serving us, and they must always have that at the back of their minds. They are the ones serving us. We are not to serve them. So Mr. President should have it at the back of his mind that he is serving the Nigerian people. I know how many years it took the president to get where he is today. So he must always have that at the back of it, that these people, we must restore confidence in the Nigerian nation, because that is the problem we are having presently. Ayo.
Sam, let's now move on to, we're talking about boarding school, kidnappers and bandits attacking boarding school. Now they've now gone ahead to start attacking people that are going to day students. Now this is a region whereby we know that it's an educationally disadvantaged region. When you want to do JAM, when you want to do GC, you know what we're talking about. You start hearing quota system and everything. They are barely even encouraging people to go to school. Now we have this kind of situation that they don't allow the leaders of tomorrow to school.
Okay, Ayo, I think the first thing to appreciate here is that there is total breakdown of law and order. What these bandits have done or are displaying is that even if you stop us from kidnapping students who are in the boarding houses, we can do it brazenly, even in daylight. That is the first leg to, and
just to send that signal.
Yes, it's a clear signal.
Is it that they don't have police, they don't have security presence?
Ayo, when there is total breakdown of law and order, it simply means that anarchy is next door. And when anarchy approaches, it's a clear indication that a nation is heading towards a failed state. Now, to the issue of education and the challenges we have in the north, we already know figures that have been bandied out there in spite of what government is saying. Over 13 million out of school. We know how many what the percentage dropped. Whatever government says, we know of course those things are maybe for the.
You can see visuals of Amajiri outside.
How do you even justify that we've had some, we have recorded some progress when everyday schools are being shut? It's a sad development, and I know what is playing out at the moment. We are going to begin to feel the impact of it probably in the next 4 or 5 years, because parents, students have been scared away from school.
Even look at the people in the various IDP camps. In the last 9 years,
so
10 years.
Who wants to send the word to school? I mean, the first signal was, don't send your kids to boarding schools. Now, the signals we have gotten from what happened in the last 2 days is that don't even send them to day schools.
So, and it is the responsibility of governments, not that a minister will be telling me to defend myself.
I think we're making light of this issue. The fact of the matter, at the risk of sounding alarmist, is that this country is very close to what we have in Somalia. Warlords are taking over territories brazenly, driving, move for 200-300 kilometers. Nobody stops them.
Some of the passengers that were abducted in Niger State, they actually they told a lady that they interviewed, watched the interview on YouTube, that government promised us this, promised us that, and they've not given it to us. And some even said that they were contacted during election to come into the country, and they were armed.
So Ayo, you see, you said something about education. These are most of these bandits, most of them are the Amajiris.
That they abandoned children, out of school children.
They are now hunting us.
They are the ones hunting us
10-15
now.
years after.
And just like Sam said, because they are now sending those ones and kidnapping, parents will be afraid to send their children to school. So in 4-5 years time, we'll have another bigger issue in our hands.
In fact,
because if you go to the northeast, Boko Haram is saying Western education, Babu. Now they have gone to the northwest. They are kidnapping. North central, we don't know what will come up. So we have a very, very big challenge in our hands.
All right, we'll take this breather. When we come back, we'll talk more. It's still Journalist Hangout. We'll be right back after this time out. It's your favorite news and current affairs program reaching you live from the station of the year, TVC News. Now, the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC, is gradually turning the country's ultimate house of fraud. Now, Now, the Senate Committee on Public Affairs has uncovered how NNPC paid 443 billion naira as fuel subsidy without appropriation. The chairman of the committee, Senator Matthew Uwagwe, who frowned at the development, summoned the corporation to explain the expenditure. Sam, what is this about unappropriated fund? And I thought we should be done with subsidy now. Anything subsidy.
Okay, I think we should place this in proper context. What is being talked about is an audit report that dates back to 2016. So what happened is that government cannot spend money except it's properly appropriated. So what the audit report of 2016 is saying that money was spent without due authorization or approval by the National Assembly, which clearly points out that we have always had internal control issues.
Accountability.
Accountability issues and all that. Government taking advantage of gaps within the system to do just whatever it wants. So the other thing that emerges from this issue is that the matter of subsidy, which is one that government has tried to persuade Nigerians into believing that it never really or it has stopped providing subsidy for the petroleum industry. It's clear that subsidy still there. Otherwise, the National Assembly or the lawmakers wouldn't be talking about spending over 400 billion without authorization. And again, it speaks to the issues that we have with governance in the country. Now, this is an audit report of 2016. Ayo, you can imagine what else probably awaits Nigerian public between 2017, 18, and 19 and all that. I mean, just cast your mind back to the last report we had. The first real audit report that was done on NNPC, external audit that was done on NNPC was after almost 40 years. Then you can imagine the road that had gone under. And this is a ministry supposedly, under the care of Mr. President.
Is the president still the Minister of Petroleum?
Of course he is.
Of course.
Has he been
Of course he is.
He's still the minister.
But to be fair to him, like I said,
at least he has not written to the Senate or the National Assembly to say that I'm no longer the Minister for Petroleum. Because he's still the Minister of Petroleum.
I thought he had more very pressing national emergency in his hands.
Yes, the thing is, even petroleum is also a national emergency. It's also
the heartbeat.
Because it's the heartbeat of the nation. Because anything that happens to that particular industry or sector will affect the country completely. So the president is still the minister. And that is why I'm always very... I don't know how corruption, we've been talking about this corruption for years, even before I was born. NNPC has always been like that.
Of corruption.
Yeah, that is it. So you wake up in the morning, they are saying NNPC. I've never even, right from the days of Rewan Lokman, who was even in OPEC, then NNPC was still being called the cesspit of corruption.
During the time of Gion Sobasaki.
Yes, since that time till now. You are still talking about NNPC having issues.
Same notorious NNPC.
So, and I don't know how the government can stop that corruption. Because subsidy, you have claimed that there's no more subsidy, you are not paying subsidy. And this is 2016 now. We don't know if by another 1 year or 2 years, another billions of naira would have been paid behind that the National Assembly don't know about, and they will be saying that they actually paid it for subsidy. But I want to tell you, I want to shock you, that in a couple of years to come, you will still see another issue about this particular matter, that subsidies were paid without appropriation. Because, yes, our budget, there's nothing like subsidy there, but I can bet you that this government is paying subsidy for either fuel, for petrol, that we don't know. They're actually doing that we don't know. So in years to come, you will hear that, so billion of that. In fact, it will pass billion to be trillion.
Still talking about the landing cost now. Talking about the realistic amount that will find this product at the end of the day. A lot of people will say, "Oh, they are afraid that there might be increase upon price."
And when Aspo spoke, he said there are probably things that relating to subsidy that in the future we wouldn't, be able to tell. But I think that it's clear that even under this administration, subsidy is still ongoing. It's just that it has been rebranded.
Mm-hmm. They have another name for it.
Another name for it. They call it under recovery or something like that. So what is basically playing out is that government has deliberately, refused to face the reality of the times. That is just the truth. The fundamentals are very clear. When oil price goes up, it's bound to affect the price or the value of refined products. Okay? Now you have an NNPC that is playing a dual role.
Major importer, sole importer,
and the regulator. Now, what the government has done, because it wants to be politically correct, is to bring in the products, sell at a rate that...
Why are we running the monopoly of bringing in the product? Don't you have other major marketers that can,
there are, that's what I'm driving at, Ayo. What I'm driving at is a situation where government believes that even though it has said the economy is, that sector is deregulated. Now, if you go out there, if the major importers or marketers go out there to bring the product, they are going to sell far higher than what is prevailing at the moment.
And the landing costs.
Yes, and the government wants to be very careful because this is a very touchy issue. And that is why NNPC appears to have the sole right to bring it in, and they are enjoying the cheap forex, supposedly, on the part of government, because the government is also not willing to sell forex at that differentiated rate to other importers. If that was a level playing ground, it would be a lot easier for them to go in there.
The official rate is different from what you have the parallel market.
Of course.
Now, the Nigerian Labour Congress now, they're now talking about minimum wage. That look, a failure of governments to implement fully across the 36 states this minimum wage that they will be forced to down to from next month. And we have this situation facing us.
Yes, it's good that the Nigerian Labour Congress is also saying this. But don't forget, the House of Reps recently said that they are going ahead for states to start to pay what they feel they can pay.
Was that the agreement?
You understand? What they feel they can pay, so based on their financial muscle. So Labour still have a lot.
I have a caller from Imo State, Kesandu from Imo State. Thank you for joining us. Yes. Go ahead with your contribution, please.
Let me appreciate you for the wonderful analysis. See, the truth about in this country is that we cannot continue to suffer where some group of persons will be investing our common resources. It is too unfortunate, quite appalling and disheartening that Mr. President is still heading the Ministry of Petroleum. And this whole sector, this whole inappropriate, this mismanagement of funds is still going under his watch. It is quite disheartening. Mr. President must act presidential at this material time. Nigerians cannot be going to filling stations to buy oil at the rate of 170, 180, 200 naira. And some persons somewhere are pocketing our money. And all the ministers are the Senate are telling us that these people are taking over.
Thank you, Kesandu.
Even let me also shock him. By the time we go into food deregulation, by the time we go into food, we'll pay more than even what we are paying currently. Because that is when the other major marketers will now say, okay,
this is how much I brought it.
This is how much I'm going to bring, and how much I'm going to sell.
There's
nobody that will start a business that won't look for gain.
Absolutely.
So what I feel the government is trying to do is trying to cushion the effects, and that is why they are still being the regulator of that industry.
So part of the problem there is that we must refine our crude.
Yes, if you refine,
so that we won't have to grapple with landing costs from Venezuela and other countries.
We have refineries that are not producing
moribund.
Right now, we are all hoping for the almighty Dangote refinery. Because if Dangote refinery comes on stream, that is when we can now begin to say, okay, how much can we really buy fuel? But Dangote will not want to, I keep saying it, if Dangote comes on, he will not sell fuel at 50 naira for us. It is what they are selling outside. If not, we'll still have the same problem. So he
and some people will argue that it's more expensive outside.
Yes, it's more expensive. It's more expensive, but will he sell at 50 naira for us? That is pence we are talking about. We are not talking about dollar, because you know how much $1 is now, Ayo. So we'll be talking about pence in some countries. So just like we are saying about the NLC has to push for that 30,000 for workers. And they must make sure that this is being paid. Because as we stand today, Ayo, even the 30,000 cannot take some people home.
Okay. And finally on the show, the long-awaited COVID-19 vaccines are in Nigeria. And the next on the agenda is vaccination. Now, President Muhammadu Buhari and Vice President Yemi Osinbajo will receive the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine publicly on Saturday, while some frontline health workers get theirs on Friday. A meeting on the sharing formula among states has been called. This is ridiculous. Now, I spoke with the Minister of State for...
what is ridiculous?
As in sharing formula, because I spoke with the Minister of Health, Minister of State for Health like 2 weeks ago, and you know, he explained the processes and what is delaying and everything. And I thought that before we got to this place,
they would have finished.
We would have finished the sharing formula, who is going to get what, how this thing is going to be distributed across the states. So you need, the thing is, the vaccine is we have the vaccine here, 3.9 million vaccines, and we want to sit down with commissioners now.
So like the popular, say now, it shock you. Now, if it shock you, you probably will be.
What if we are talking about?
Ayo, if it shock you, probably
how to cater for 200 million people?
You will be in a bigger shock to recall that there were banners even put out when the thing arrived.
Welcome,
don't be too sure that adverts will also not be placed on national television announcing a gathering of government officials and the allocation ceremony. But seriously, Ayo, first I think we need to be grateful to the rest of the world who have,
for their magnanimity.
Yeah, for their magnanimity in terms of reaching out, to us with 3.8 or 9 million vaccines. India has also promised us 100,000. It just shows you where we are as a country, and we're supposed to be the biggest black nation in the world. Sadly, we don't seem to have applied ourselves well enough to play
in terms of research, in terms of discovery, in terms of
it's very disturbing. But back to what is going to happen on Saturday. It's interesting to note, because there have been concerns that even Mr. President, might be a bit hesitant in giving, his attitude to some of these things. So it's good that we are hearing that he will make himself available, same as the Vice President. I think that will restore a lot of confidence. That will give a lot of many Nigerians hope, that feeling that this is real and that it is genuine and that it is safe. So they go get the shots, and the rest of us,
have you accessed that portal? Because as at yesterday, I learned that in 24 hours, 2.3 million people actually registered.
I've seen somebody who did in this compound, and it was fast. Although they were trying to. There's a particular place they will say, okay, put your local government and then your ward and all that. So sometimes I feel that if they are not going to move the vaccines to a particular place, you won't be able to get the local government will not pop up. So that is what I feel. But I don't know how they want to manage that. So, but I even wanted to. My own is that, just like he's saying, if the president is hesitant about it, then how are you now going to?
No, it's not.
That is what is glaring about it. And we are also looking forward to the likes of Yahaya Bello. Whether
yes, because those are the people, the pessimists, who are saying that they won't take the vaccine or this or that. Everybody will take the vaccine at some point. Ayo, if you look at it, with the way the world is going, everybody
No, it's expected that in the next 2 years,
everybody will be vaccinated.
Gotten to,
you know, to that level whereby billions of people would have been vaccinated. Because there will be a point in time you want to go to the bank, they say, sorry, what is your vaccination number? you know, that is how it's, because, you know, it has number. When once you apply, there's a number they will give you, there's a code. So that code is what you will use. So when you want to fly, you want to go to your US for vacation, they will tell you, Ayo, what is your, please impute your vaccination number there. So you must take. So it's a must. So what we are even encouraging people.
We have 3.9 million now.
So the 3.5.
So before,
just like you are saying, I knew that there was going to be a problem in Nigeria when that vaccine arrived, because immediately it arrived, everybody wanted to speak on camera. Minister for Information, Minister of Health,
Minister for State for Health,
everybody, a PTF, international community.
It's unfair.
You know, it turned into.
We had that famous banner.
Yes, now.
A vaccination we did not discover. A vaccination that we did not provide. Yeah. That it was just from donors.
At some point, I was like, why are these people wasting time? At least Ghana, who happened to be the first country in Africa to get the vaccine, we didn't see all these fanfare. It was simple. Take the whole thing.
No, Sam, if we are gone, even if our researchers, scientists, if they have even gone to the lab to now discover our own innovation for COVID-19, we can afford that kind of.
Yes, of course. I don't know.
But you want to go and bring the Oxford AstraZeneca, and they're giving us, we're not even buying it. With the billions they've contributed, government has not, we've not even say, okay, this is
for research.
Yes.
Just for research.
Yeah, to be fair to Nigerian intellectuals, I think we have some of the finest brains you find anywhere in the world.
Anywhere. They excel anywhere they go in the world, outside the country.
Yeah, but even here, the point I want to make is that if we have the right environment and people are empowered, we can actually do a lot, you know. So yeah, back to the issue of what would have happened if we were involved in this discovery. Now let me just take your mind a bit. I mean, your back a bit. South Africa was actively involved in the researches leading up to one of the vaccines. I think either Johnson or something like that, and that's why they were one of the earliest, beneficiaries.
They rejected this Oxford AstraZeneca. Yes, because they are own variants.
Yeah, because there have been talks as to why would South Africa, why were they early beneficiaries and all that. A report I read said they were actively involved, in the build-up to the discovery. But what we have in our environment, sadly, is a situation where there is absolute lack of planning most times, While other countries were getting ready for these vaccines, we're asking ourselves what preparations were being made.
No, we're talking about if we have the cooling facility, the first one they wanted to bring.
You can imagine.
Minus 72
degrees.
Maybe we had the storage facility too.
And Ayo, we're not totally done. By the time we face the real issue of allocating these vaccines, you will find out that there could be a scramble where people will be talking about.
Yes. Somebody even said it online today.
We have the largest local government.
Somebody
so allocate to us, not on the basis of people who are
somebody said,
but because we have the largest.
Please don't urge this. This is not palliative. Don't use this vaccine. You can only take one. Don't use it for your birthday celebration. Don't say you want to go and keep it so that on your birthday.
You'll be shocked that it will. Some of them will be converted into constituency issues projects because people want to go back
and provided vaccines
for their people. You'll be shocked. I just hope we don't get to that point where we have a scramble and there's a fight over what has been, quote, dashed to Nigeria as a country. It would be a shame. And to imagine that we're already making plans to vaccinate at least, is it 40 million or what, is it 40% of Nigerian population and all that? We're not even talking about how we're going to get there. This one, we're celebrating because some countries were benevolent enough, to give this to us. How are we going to procure the next batches for the rest of the country? So we've heard about budgets being made, money not being released, and the rest of them. I just hope we get our acts right.
So we just have to keep to what we're doing. Keep the
we know with our own
COVID protocol.
Yeah, of course.
To COVID-19 protocols.
Now that the vaccine is here,
it might not get to you.
Of course.
Right.
So the first set of people should be the frontline health workers.
Okay.
So by now, I want to believe that the government knows everybody that is a health worker, and they should be able to get a job.
From primary, secondary,
yes, all of them.
Local government health workers.
Because when they are safe and they are healthy, they are COVID-free, we can all say, okay, fine, want to go to the hospital when we have COVID. We have that confidence. They too will also have confidence.
We don't have a central database.
Well, I want to believe that
NIM.
Yes, Nigeria Medical Association, all the chapters should be able to know those who are doctors, those who are nurses, those who are not fully involved in the day-to-day running, as in everybody. When we say frontline health workers, we mean everybody, including the lab scientists. You know, because they are part and parcel of this battle. You know, so by the time they get it, we shouldn't be talking about government official. If government official is 40, should hold on until when another batch comes. Because after that, we'll be talking about the elderly. You know, because if the president takes, the vice president takes, the next will be the governors as usual. Then
National Assembly members.
Yes, National Assembly members.
State House of Assembly members.
Because even
and then you wonder how many of the vaccines will be left.
You understand?
Someone else on the local government.
What we want to see is after the president, the vice president, the speaker, and maybe the senate president finish. The next should be the frontline health workers.
Chief Justice of the Federation.
Yes, Chief Justice of the Federation.
SSG. We have our bureaucracy now. You don't want to. let me just play this the reaction, and so you get the process of the distribution of the vaccines.
When Mr. President and the Vice President take their vaccines, that the chairman of the Presidential Task Force could take his vaccines on that same day. But for other members of the Presidential Task Force, we expect that as from Monday, the ministers will be taking their vaccines along with the rollout in the treatment centers. Right, the vaccination that will take place on Saturday is yet to be finalized, but I will not be surprised if there are members of the Federal Executive Council who might seize the opportunity to also take their vaccines.
And the purpose of it is that you also want your neighbors to be free. If we are fully well vaccinated, Benin Republic, Togo, Niger are not, we are still not quite safe because there is free movement among all these countries. So it's in our interest to also see that all these countries are on the same page. And that's why the West African Health Organization is also pursuing the same initiative as the African Union. Comply with isolation regulations. And isolation is when you have been diagnosed as positive but you are not very sick, you do home-based care. Be faithful to it. Quarantine is when you are not yet sure of your status. And let me say at this point that the symptoms generally will appear within 3 to 7 days. Report for treatment. Do not continue to wait. The earlier you report, the easier it is to do the treatment.
COVID-19 is real. And it's like it has come to stay.
Ayo, did you hear the number of people that will be taken first?
The ministers, I told you.
And you know, the thing is, if for instance is one minister A will take, his wife will take.
Yes,
children,
definitely.
You
are one now, you are one.
You know, it's one full family that will take, including driver.
Yes, that's why you are Suko James. You're not a minister.
Then there's a problem. So before it will get to us, it will be a very...
that is why...
I'll not get to you.
Well,
it's
a shame. But don't rule out anything. Again, as a Nigerian, I'm worried that
But they told us to go to the portal. So get to the portal and register first.
Yeah, that's good. In fact, that one shocked me because it's unlike us as a people.
Online.
That we're ready.
No, but even
that we're ready with
it fast, and I was surprised.
Yeah, that we're ready with it is very encouraging. It also shows that the moment we tell ourselves that we want to get it right, we always get it right.
Okay, Sam, we have to go. Pirated man. Asiko James.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming late today. Sam Ibimere.
Always my pleasure.
Thank you for your contribution. And that's our offering today. Join us tomorrow for another episode of the program. And don't forget to join Journalist Hangout on Sunday special from 1:30 p.m. to 3:30 p.m. We're on YouTube, youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. I'm Ayodele Ozubakun saying, please stay safe.